Well, this sets the record for the biggest eastern red cedar I've ever done. Had a guy bring this to me and drop it off. The total log is 20 foot 6 inches, and he said he needed it in boards at least 5 feet long, and so it worked out that instead of breaking it into 4 5s, I'm going to break it into 2 10s. It makes it actually easier for me to saw. But I wanted to show you just that beautiful, beautiful heartwood on a cedar. And we're just gonna, basically plain saw all of this. He doesn't have, I think he said he's gonna build porch swings or something like that with it. So it doesn't have to be anything special, which I don't know. Cedar, I don't know that quarter sawing it really makes it look any different or any more stable, because it's kind of a soft wood anyway. But let's see what we got here across the short axis on this end. 16 inches, if y'all can't see that. 16 inches across the short axis. Well, maybe 14. Yeah, we'll call it 14 just to be nice. That's off the short axis on the small end. Of course, the big end doesn't matter because small end runs everything. But the big end is over 20 inches. So this is a big, big cedar. For what they get for eastern red cedar. So often they're just little scrub trees, and then people bulldoze them out before they ever get a chance to get big. Anyway, we'll start busting this open and just see what we find on the inside. Never gets old. Oh, I love busting open cedar. Oh, and it's light. That top cap is light. Oh, so pretty. Some people don't like it. My wife says she doesn't really care for it that much. And I get, some people are like all about it. Oh my God, cedar's so cool, so rustic. And some people can overdo it a little bit, building tables and stuff. But gosh, I love that. The smell, I might love the smell more than the color. And some people hate the smell too. But oh, it's so pretty. That's so, so pretty. I got lucky just now where my guide is at there. It actually cruised over the top of this piece. I didn't have to open it all the way up to go past it. And I was gonna flat saw another slab off the top of this, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and roll it, get this up on top and get it cut off of there, so it's just one less thing to try to hang me up, because that's making the log really wide, but it's really just a knot. So we'll get that off of there, and yeah, then we'll have the log a bit more manageable. I think I can roll this one. It's not really as bad as it looks. Those big pines that I did for this guy, those were monsters. But as long as this thing doesn't get hung up on a knot, I may be okay. course, yeah. So, as much as I love my Timberking, these log stops designs, it's just bad. These little suckers, they're bent, they flop, those little cams don't hold. And I believe the newer saws have a much different design. I'm just kind of have to deal with it because I got the cheap old saw I bought to use and it's working. But I hate these log stops. Out of anything at all that makes me hate running this sawmill, it's definitely the log stops. You can see the log got rolled, it got cockeyed on the deck just now because my middle stop, it's right here, is bent that way, and the next stop behind it is bent this way off the back of the deck. So I can never use it because it's so severely bent, and that's not Timberking's fault. But it's so severely bent that it will actually make the log roll back off the other side of the mill. It acts like a ramp. And now, my classic mistake, I should have done this before I rolled the log, because I'm not going to be able to get over that. I'm going to have to take my blade off like an idiot. I do that on a regular basis too. I would say, yeah, far too often I do this, which is absolutely stupid. I roll the log up before I back the saw head up. And then I don't want to go to the work of rolling it back down and rolling it back up. So I have to take the blade off just to back the saw head up. Again, not Timberking's fault, my fault. What was that? Something's out of whack. That's me sometimes. Okay. I will say, put my new belts on here the other day, my new wheel belts. I had a video about that. And I haven't noticed as much blade wave, but maybe I've been using sharper blades. I'm not sure. I've been using resharps these last few days. I've been using resharps instead of brand new blades, and it seems to be going just fine. Now, of course, the other issue with the stops is that they're not square. I can't just stand them up and assume the log is square. That's never the case. But in this case, I think we actually got it. There's a big chunk of bark over here on this middle stop that's got the log leaned a little bit that way, and that's what I always have to do. If I stand it up flat against the stops, it's always a little bit past 90. It's always rolled to the left a little bit. So I always have to stick a chunk of bark or something in there to kind of wedge it back. But this one did it on its own. All right, let's wrench this side off. I don't get too worried about peeling the bark off. If it comes easy, I'll peel it off, but I don't sit there and strip it all off with a hatchet or draw knife or anything. All right, let's take that big sucker off the top, eh? Oh darn, this thing does not want to come down. We're going to make a couple passes. That top piece is just so awkward. Maybe I can get it in one pass. Let's see what that does for us. Well, take it up on a 1-inch block there. Clean the sawdust out. That's the other bad design here. They got these little, I guess you'd call them prison bars to keep a busted blade from flying out the chute. But for me, they just tend to keep the sawdust from flying out the chute. And it always plugs up halfway through a cut. And I don't like to stop, shut down in the middle of the cut. So I push it on through and sawdust is going everywhere because it's all blowing out the side and the cracks in the doors and not going out the chute like it's supposed to. Hey now, that looks pretty good. Good. Worked out nice. I'm feeling along here. I'm feeling for blade wave. If you guys haven't, if you don't own your own sawmill, if you haven't experienced it, when I get that blade wave, you'll feel the ribs, you know, the high and lows. It's usually around a knot on anything that's harder. But yeah, like I said, the cedar's pretty soft, so I'm gonna take a few more boards out of it here, just 1-inch flat sawn boards, just since I've got it squared up and it's stable, and then we'll roll it over and take a few more, take another cap off. first time for everything. Just hit the top of my log stop. And believe it or not, I've owned the sawmill for 2.5 years. That's the first time I've done it. Oh, I just wasn't even looking. Wasn't even looking. Those log stops, when they're stood straight up, it's at about 13 inches, it's a little over 12. And that's what I just set the saw head down to 13. And I just shaved the top of it. I heard it. I didn't even see it at first. I just heard the tone change. But that's okay. At least it wasn't like, at least it wasn't the log stop, the second log stop, you know, and I'm buried halfway in the log. Because I'm not even going to chance it. Once that happens, that's it. Blade off. So we'll go get a new blade. But not too bad, eh? Basically book matched. Kind of pretty. Anyway, we're going to sticker them and keep stacking them up just like this. I'll take a picture and send this to the guy. I'm not sure if he wants it live edge like that. If he doesn't, I'll stand him back up on there at the end and square him off. But I know all the pine slabs he had me do live edge, so I think he can probably handle these live edge too, but I'll ask him. All right. Well, I got a hold of the customer, and he wants them squared off, which is fine. It's totally fine. I don't care. I was trying to be lazy. Oh! But there'll only be a couple anyway that have to be resawed or edged, if you will. Gets faster and easier with each turn. Well, except for the part about falling off the back of the deck, because that back stop is a piece of junk. But at least now it's squared on that bottom corner, so my factory, my stops on the deck will hold it. So I can put my clamps down. Still going to leave this one clamped a little bit, just down low, just to help, because sometimes the log will sit there and shake. Well, no, I'm not going to do that because there's a big curve right there and I can't get the clamp up. So we'll just at least scoot it over tight against the stops. But the only thing that really makes it move is your blade starts to get dull and it's wanting to pull the top of that cant over. That's your biggest risk, is it tips all of a sudden, it binds your blade up, busts it, messes up the cut, does whatever. So almost forgot to wash it. And the washing, especially on these cedars, is more important because that fibrous bark will hold a lot of dirt. In case you're wondering right there, I just washed my tracks off a little bit because there's a real light breeze this morning, blowing all this sawdust right back in my face. What? Okay, well, my kids are having a problem with some animal over there, so let me go see what they think they're after. Yeah, that is stunning. Like I said, I don't totally get off on cedar furniture. feel like sometimes at the table or something it's almost too much, but man, that's beautiful. I mean, it almost looks fake. You know, it looks like a painting or something. There's a little rot spot there in the middle. It's like a branch inclusion. It's kind of weird. You can see the branch in there, but it was solid on both sides of it. Really interesting. But anyway, that's it for the big cedar. A bunch of boards. They're about, I think they're 9 inches wide. No, look at that, 10.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 at 10.5 wide. No, 9. 9 at 10.5 wide. 2 at 9 wide. And 2 at 5.5 wide. So not bad. All 4 quarters. So that was the bigger cedar. We'll set this off to the side. We'll go get the little cedar log, get it thrown on here, and this order will be done. So again, I don't think I showed it to you guys when it was the full log, but it was 20'6" long. Now the bottom, the bigger portion of the log, that's the one I actually showed you the video of cutting out. It didn't have too much wane across that first 10 feet. You know, it lost, I don't know, maybe 2 inches. But the second part dropped off pretty quick. And so I've showed before in videos where, you know, I'll lift up one end of the log to minimize or try to balance out the what I call the top cap, the top slab when I take it off, because this thing was like it was like 14 inches on one end and like 6 on the other. You know, it tapered way off quick. And so I lifted the one end up to make it where I was taking off, you know, 4 even little slices. So you lift one end up, make your cut, roll it 180, make a cut, and then roll it up 90, lift the end up again to balance it, make a cut, roll it 180, make a cut, and you got a square cant. Mostly. So these are the top little scraps, and I just threw these on. I don't know if the guy's going to want this or not, but I mean, there's a 2-foot board, you know. So I'm not going to throw that out with trash, but you can see how quickly it all of a sudden it's gone. The ones underneath, those are, I don't know, 7 foot long, clean. And then everything below that is, well, these are 10'6", of course, 10'3", but they've got a lot of, you know, trash out here on the end you probably cut off. And then I got 4 out of the middle of it that were good and clean, or pretty clean. So pretty happy with that result. Like I said, due to the shape of the log, you wouldn't have thought you could have got that much out of it with that far end being so small, but it turned out pretty good. Anyway, that's the whole order done. I mentioned the big pine logs. So he brought me 3 big pines. The biggest one was something like 36 inches. So I actually had to shave a couple inches off one side with a chainsaw. So it was like 36, 30, right at 30. And then this one was about 28 clean, 26, 28 clean, but it had some big knots sticking off the sides that I had to trim off. So yeah, that's a big order for the sawmill, for me anyway. That's probably my biggest that I've had as far as somebody dropping off big logs and just telling me to get after it. So anyway, it's done. I got to go look at my records here and see what the total is, let the guy know that his lumber's ready, and hope he comes and gets it and pays me. I guess if not, it's for sale, but no, I believe he'll be back shortly.